Imagine a world where information can't be trusted. It's not very hard, is it? News service says one thing, website says another thing. Society starts to fray. All we can do is turn to the people we care about. But what if those people weren't who we thought they were? What if the ones closest to us, the ones we trusted our whole lives, were someone else entirely? What if they weren't even human? Welcome to the paranoia that is Secret Invasion. I am Ol'Ed, and I am joined by Andre, the Skrull C. How you doing, Andre?
I am doing absolutely phenomenal. I got to watch I watched the show twice now. I watched it in the span of 5 hours this morning. I watched it twice.
Yeah.
Or 6 hours or so, yeah.
It's... Now, I know you were a little... I'll break kayfabe here. You were a little lukewarm on it when I talked to you about it earlier.
Yeah, like, I had fun watching it. It's cool. It's more Marvel content. Like, I've never been insanely negative except for Moon Knight. And this has not hit my hate of Moon Knight. Hi, Bobby. But, like, I don't... It was good. It wasn't a bad show.
No.
But it just... if it wasn't for the ending, I don't think I'd be as hooked as I am. It was cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. But... there's, I still have that, like, where is this going to go feeling?
See, with me, it was from the moments of those words I spoke to start the show. It was adrenaline to my veins. Because it's that paranoia, that spy feeling that you get from watching a really good thriller where you don't know what's going on and you can't believe anything you're watching. And we literally find out in the first 5 minutes that we can't believe anything that happens in front of us. For me, it's fantastic. Oh, Bobby says, I haven't watched it yet, so I'll try to keep you guys tabbed here as I want to watch this one on the weekend. Well, Bobby, you definitely do that. We're going to go ahead and get into some spoilers in just a few minutes. Hello, Chris Parrish. What's up? I will be joining Chris Parrish as soon as this show is over for another show that we'll talk about a little bit later. But Wrestle Draft is coming. I know this is the normal Wrestle Draft time. Wrestle Draft will be coming very shortly, probably about a little after 11 o'clock. So stay tuned. We'll be with that in about an hour.
Eastern. 11 Eastern.
Yeah, 11 Eastern. 9 middle of
My
Canada time. Middle of nowhere, Canada.
You know it.
But no, I love the idea of a paranoia spy thriller where anything and everything is possible and nothing is what it looks like.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be deliberate. I don't think we're going to get too many massive, like, shocking, untellings of the story. I think everything we see is going to be, for the most part, what we get. But I think they're going to have a few times where they're going to change what we think we know. But I don't think it's going to be anything like what people expect, where they're like, we're going to watch the whole show, and then on episode 6, Nick Fury's a Skrull. Like, I don't think we're going to get that.
Oh, God. Please, God, no.
But I've seen a lot of people being like, oh, this show doesn't matter because the only thing that matters is the last episode. And I'm like, no. Just because we're going to be confused in the paranoia of, is this real, is this make-believe, doesn't make it bad. It just makes it interesting. A little bit different.
I agree. Like, again, I know I'm not the first episode. It got me. I enjoyed it. Hi, Astrid. But I look forward to seeing where this goes. I want to discover who are the Skrulls, who are not, who's the crazy weird people. I want to know that. That's what's intriguing to me. It's like, and the ending that was like, okay, I need to see what Fury's gonna do.
Well, we'll get to the ending in a minute. We want to make sure.
I almost said it.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there. First, I want to go ahead and thank Astrid. Thank you very much, my tag team partner, for subscribing to me on Twitch. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
There we
emotes
go.
And fun stuff and emotes and things like that are coming in the future. we're going to go ahead and leave the non-spoiler section, and we're going to jump to the spoilers. So, Bobby, this is the point where you put us on mute, you keep the tab open, and you just got to put us on mute so you don't have to listen to us talk about all the wonderful spoilers. And we're going to start... Do you want to start in order of things as they happened? Or do you want to start with...
Let's go order. Yeah.
All right. So, in the beginning, we get the 5-minute scene that we've seen on the internet. For those that didn't see it on the internet, we get Agent Ross getting a phone call, and he goes ahead and says, I'll be there. And then we get the voiceover that I gave you to open the show, where we hear Agent Prescott talking about how nothing can be trusted. And he's got his crazy murder wall that I expect. I said there's a similar thing there in Kevin Feige's house. Like, I think Kevin Feige has an entire, like, basement, like, room devoted to, like, the same thing with all of the little Easter eggs that are in every Marvel movie.
No. Feige's a robot. Don't you remember She-Hulk?
Yes.
The glory that I loved of She-Hulk.
It's really good that we weren't doing it during that episode, because I had... At that moment, I've come around to it, but at that moment, I had very, very, very visceral feelings watching it and seeing that. But we get to this, and we get this great explanation about where Nick Fury is, and that Nick Fury is on Saber. And we finally get the name. We've seen it in the Marvel's trailer that we've seen already, the teaser trailer. We've seen the name Saber, but we finally get it spoken. So now we know S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone and done, and now we're fully in the land of S.W.O.R.D.
Yeah.
And we have Saber, the space station, which is essentially the peak. They've tweaked it just slightly to go from the peak to the Saber. But I like the idea of Saber. S.H.I.E.L.D. was a defense. S.H.I.E.L.D. was to protect people from aliens, to protect the world from everything that could be. And S.W.O.R.D. is going to be about going out and stopping things before they happen. S.W.O.R.D. is going to be an offensive thing. So you're getting... And it's the name of the shield and the sword. The saber being a type of sword. The ship basically looking like a sword. It's really cool that we get all that. We get Agent Ross kind of trying to blow off Agent Prescott, saying that he's basically crazy. But... Agent Prescott attacks Ross, and Ross shoots Agent Prescott. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I don't understand what happened there. And I was waiting for I was waiting for Prescott to turn into a Skrull, and he didn't.
Me too.
And I was like, But I like how they did this. Right immediately, we're like, what happened? Who's a Skrull? Is this guy a Skrull? Like, in 5 minutes, are we going to get a Skrull right away? Like, just... absolute greatness. Hey, we got Bobby Munson and Basser jumping in. Basser is apparently resubbed on our local establishment, so thank you very much, Basser.
Thanks, sir.
We greatly appreciate it. I have to get that one up and running in just a minute. Andre, why don't you go ahead and talk about your thoughts on this opening scene and the extended peek that we got here that we didn't get on the website with the attack?
I really quite enjoyed it. Again, I wasn't sure because, like, And again, this is from also reading New Rockstars and a couple others ones. Everett Ross, after Black Panther 2, kind of got in a lot of trouble. So him being the CIA spook still, kind of go, what? Didn't he get fired? Isn't gonna like I had the feeling he was getting fired in there, and the thing he's kind of still playing his CIA spook role, and I'm kind of like, So I really did enjoy the way these two interacted, and then him attacking him, I'm thinking, oh shit, this guy's a Skrull. He's been fucking with him the whole time, and then he gets killed, and he's like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and then when he's being, and then the chase happens, and again, I really did enjoy the way they did work together here, and it's set up, and this did get me really interested when I saw it originally online, and it's just it's the middle part of the episode that gets me kind of like, oh, okay.
The exposition of it all. The exposition of it all. Where they have 20 minutes to break down exactly what they're talking about and why.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get there in just a minute. So we get the chase scene where after Prescott is dead, Ross says that he needs an extract. And I thought that was interesting, considering he killed Prescott. So where was the danger?
Well, there's a guy following him.
Yeah, but he didn't call for the extraction after he was followed. He called before. Before he realizes that he's being followed, he calls for extraction.
It's true.
As he's leaving the building, he calls for extraction, and only afterwards does he notice he's being followed.
Yeah,
Like I
true.
said, just a tiny hint of the paranoia that we're going to see throughout the rest of the show. But he gets chased by somebody. They go up a huge flight of stairs to a roof. They do a couple rooftop jumps. And I was surprised at how spry Mr. Everett Ross was jumping from rooftop to rooftop. Until he tries to jump from one rooftop too many and goes crashing down to the ground.
That looked rough as fuck.
Yeah.
I was thinking, dude, he's dead.
I thought he was too, but he wasn't. Maria Hill shows up and she goes ahead and points the gun at the person who was chasing him. And the person chasing him turns into Talos. And I'm like, ooh, okay.
Ben
Talos
Mendelsohn, baby. Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn, baby.
It's so nice to see Ben back on my screen as a Marvel character. I love Ben Mendelsohn and everything he's been doing. It's been fantastic. And we get the moment where Agent Ross finally turns into the Skrull. And there we go. We have our first what the hell is going on. Agent Ross has an imposter.
Yeah.
And now the questions begin. Was he always a Skrull? Was he a Skrull in Civil War? What point does he get turned? Was he a Skrull in Black Panther Wakanda Forever? Like, at what point? I think the easiest option is the one that they've went with. That he was turned, after he disappeared after Black Panther 2, the Skrulls realized that they could go ahead and infiltrate him, because I think they think he's dead. Or in prison, or something.
I think, personal feeling, I think he's in a CIA black site somewhere, or up on, or he's in like a sword black site or something. Or he's being held because his ex-wife was pissed at him, and she was really kind of annoyed about
Remember, at the end of Wakanda Forever, he gets away from all of that. So theoretically, he should be in the hands of the Wakandans.
That's true. Again, and the Skrull may think he's dead, and he's hiding out in Wakanda somewhere.
Yeah, that's where I think we get to. Cue the Law and Order. Dun dun. Yes.
Dun, 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 dun,
it's good. The Law and Order music would be great in this episode because there's a lot of good stuff.
Oh yeah.
We then move to the AI intro, and we're not going to spend a lot of time here, but I'm going to ask Andre. It's been a wild debate on Twitter today. I've been watching Twitter. What do you think about Marvel using AI to create their opening crawl as opposed to having artists do graphic renderings?
Well, they did have an outside studio, create this using AI. So it's not like they're taking away from the industry. A company within the industry is creating these credits. They chose to use AI. Marvel wanted to try something different, and I think the AI makes so much goddamn sense for this show. Because again, it's a computer thing and it's just changing the faces. And I think it did this incredible look to it that it's not like Marvel just got their Fred who works in like design at Marvel Studios to make it on AI. I hired a studio to create this. So it's not like they're not giving work to studios.
Yeah. It's been a debate all day on the internet with a lot of people saying how it's wrong that Marvel Studios is using artificial intelligence and AI programming to create works of art when they could be hiring potential artists to do this, especially where we have a writer strike right now. And I'm just like, can't we just not bitch about every little thing?
That's the world we live in, though. But again, it's not. But the thing is, they're using a company. It's not like they just took Fred from legal and had him just press some buttons in AI. They took a company that designed it using AI. And from what I've read from the company, they've designed it using multiple things to create this. It's not like they just press one button and it was done. They have to do a lot of work to use the AI to create this. So it's still art coming from a studio. It's just using an AI as your paintbrush.
Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it was something that definitely got mentioned on the internet So I figured it was worth a mention here.
Yeah. If it was Fred from Legal that did it, then I'd be like, yeah, you're cutting corners. But no, they went outside for it. It's yeah.
Speaking of filling in the gaps for the last 30 years, we get the fill in that since No Way Home and since Far From Home, we've lost Soren. Talos' lovely wife Soren is no longer with us, apparently. And we have this very touching moment between Nick Fury and Talos where they touch heads, which, if I remember correctly, is the Skrull's way of, it's like a hug or an embrace.
Yeah, because Captain Marvel, him and his daughter were doing it when they finally got reunited at the end of it. At the end of the movie, they touched foreheads. So yeah, that's Skrull. I love you symbol, I guess.
Which is great. I loved seeing the two of them do it, and it instantly brought back that connection, that wonderment, the deadly forehead touch. We'll get to the other forehead touches in just a bit, but I love this. And then we get the conversation, the two best friends that haven't seen each other in a while, and you go ahead and you get to ask the questions that nobody else can ask. Where he's like, well, where you been? You know, why have you been up there, and why haven't you come back? Why did it take this? He's like, Soren knew that it would take something like this to get you back here. So let's talk about that. Nick Fury, the wonderful, talented Nick Fury, who's done a lot in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, from Eye Patch Nick Fury in the Avengers, to setting up the Avengers, to everything else, to being there for Iron Man's funeral, and now apparently being on Saber. He talks about later on in the episode,
but was he really at Iron Man's funeral?
I think so. I think that's the moment. I think that's the moment where he decides he's going to Saber, and he's going there for a long time. I think Saber was already up and running at that point, because I think he set it up with Maria Rambeau while S.H.I.E.L.D. was running, and we just didn't know about it.
Yeah, again, I think that's when he went like, because if you really think about it, like, out of everybody of those Avengers, Tony Stark was the true humanity of the Avengers. You know what I mean? Like, he's the one out of them all that was, Clint too. I mean, Clinton detached, but he's that kind of one humanity in reality of that team, the true humanity of it. And he watched humanity die in a sense, and like he's just like, I gotta go away.
It's not only, I don't know what you did to Astrid, but she's not happy about something. Astrid, go ahead and fill us in on that one.
I'm sorry, whatever it is, I'm sorry.
But no, I think the tipping point was, and I heard this from somebody else, and I'm stealing it, and I want to say it was on New Rock Stars. It might have been Real Rejects. That Nick Fury left Earth because he felt like it was his fault, and that he couldn't do anything about it. Because if you go back to it all, Tony Stark. Oh,
sorry. Yeah, again, you just never know, right?
That is the paranoia of everything when you start thinking about who's a Skrull and who's not a Skrull. But no, I think that the moment that it changes for him, where he has, as he says later on, a crisis of faith, is the moment he realized that he got Iron Man killed. Because Iron Man could have just continued to be Tony Stark Iron Man, doing his own thing, and Nick Fury leaves him alone. And then there's nothing on Nick Fury about that. But he convinces Iron Man to be part of the Avengers. Iron Man sacrifices himself to get that nuke that Nick Fury couldn't stop into the hole in space to go ahead and end the first Avengers movie. The PTSD that comes from that in Iron Man 3. Everything that Tony Stark has gone through. The blip, where he takes those 5 years and he finally gets away from it all. And he gives up Iron Man. And he just becomes a dad. And he just becomes a husband. And he gives up all the science and everything else. And because Nick Fury can't do what Nick Fury has to do, all of a sudden Iron Man has to come back. And they have to stop Thanos. And they have to bring everybody back. And in doing so, he loses his life. And he's the person that, you gotta remember, other than Maria Hill and Talos, Iron Man's the closest friend he had.
Yeah.
Because when you think about the Avengers, the only one who we ever really see eye to eye, like the two of them going back and forth or being connected. It's the two of them.
Yeah.
And he lost another friend. He lost Natasha. Captain America goes away. Like, there's so much going on in Nick's life that after that funeral, Nick's just like, I'm done. I'm going up to the Saber. I'm getting away, and I'm just taking some me time.
Yeah. God, he makes me, like I said, the humanity is gone. Like his last share of humanity went away with Tony. It kind of did.
And I love how Nick Fury, like the true guy. Like, me and you are both guys. We don't want to sit here and talk about our feelings. We don't want to sit here and open. Well, I will too, but it's not something I'm going to choose to do willingly.
Yeah.
If my friends come up to me like, "Hey, let's talk about our feelings," I'm like, yeah, let's go talk about something else. So when Talos is like, when he's like, "Oh, let's talk about Gravik," and Talos is like, "No, I want to talk about you. I want to figure out what's going on here with you." And he's like, "No, we're gonna talk about Gravik." that typical guy thing where he's like, "Nope, we're not talking about me. We're not talking about feelings and emotions. We're getting rid of that."
Yeah.
But we see the plant. And I thought this was an interesting thing that I want to see more of as the show goes on. He brings a scroll plant to Earth, and he planted it in soil, and it's growing and adapting. Over 30 years, this plant has grown and adapted to be something different. And it's not the same plant that it was. And we'll see later when we talk about the Rebel community, where they have all those Skrull plants that you recognize as a Skrull. And they have that community where they're trying to bring new Skrullists to Earth. And this is Talos doing the opposite. He's taking a bit of Skrullis and he's trying to, and it's adapting and changing to be more human, to be more Earth-like. And I think that's an interesting give and take that I want to see more of in little bits and pieces throughout the show.
Yeah, I would love to. God, that would be amazing to see.
We finally learn about Gravik. Gravik took the place of Talos after Talos got kicked off the panel. Because for the last 30 years, Nick Fury and Captain Marvel have supposed to have been finding a place for all of these refugees to live. And Captain Marvel gave up and went away. And Nick Fury gave up and went away. And not in 30 years, they still don't have a new home planet. And the Skrulls,
how many habitable planets are out there in this world? There's got to be a lot. So, what the fuck, guys? Come on. Like, 30 years.
I do find it interesting that they're all still here. Like, that they haven't found... I was like, oh, maybe this is a rebel group that decided to stay, and now they've decided they want, like beforehand, not realizing what's going on. But no, as the story is being told to us, Nick Fury and Captain Marvel essentially said, "We promise to find you someplace else," and then just said, "Screw it, we're done."
Essentially, yeah.
Which is interesting. And I hope that Captain Marvel, too, we get a little bit more of this.
Yeah,
because and also, this is also Kevin Feige, and we've seen it time and time again. Kevin Feige is trying to take those movies that miss and make them feel better in rewatches.
Thor 2.
We've seen it with Thor 2 when we had Endgame. Endgame made Thor 2 feel important. We had, in the same vein, but in other things, Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, has become so much more important and so much more of a must-watch movie than it was when it first came out. And now this is Kevin's third attempt. It's like, oh, y'all didn't want to like Captain Marvel? Fine. We're going to give you more reason to have to make sure you like Captain Marvel and rewatch it. Because we're going to force that shit down your throat with a great show like Secret Invasion.
I don't blame him, because I'm one of the people that went, hey, I love this show, this movie.
I like Captain Marvel. I think it has massive faults with telling the story of Carol Danvers. But I think the movie is a good movie.
Oh, very much so. It doesn't tell you enough about Carol Danvers. But again, we'll get to that when we talk about the Marvels. We'll rant about the original movie when we get to that in fall.
November. That's coming in November,
baby.
No, it's definite. They've finished off their. This year is going as planned, and we'll talk more about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
But we find out about Gravik. Gravik has taken the place, and he's connecting to the younger Skrulls.
Mm-hmm.
The younger generation of Skrulls who have grown up on Earth didn't grow up on Skrullos. Well, probably some of the older young ones have. But
Or they were born there, but they were brought,
as
taken
young
away
children
when they were children. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're starting to get to that realm of this is the 30-something, my generation, your generation of Skrulls that are 30-ish years old in human years. As we find out from Talos when he's talking to Fury, that Talos is 140-something, which is less than 40 years old, and he hasn't yet gone through his midlife crisis. But we find out that Gravik doesn't want to watch the world burn. Gravik is just angry. He's upset. He feels like his people have been ignored and pushed away. And now he just wants a place to live that's New Skrullos. He wants his New Skrullos, and if he can't have it on another planet, well then fine, he's going to have it here. We find out that the Skrulls can live in areas with contamination from nuclear facilities. And I'm like, oh, so that explains why we're doing Russia. We've got Chernobyl and about 30 other places just like Chernobyl that are just nuclear waste sites where nobody can live.
The picture that showed like all the just Russia alone with all these different like nuclear like explosion symbols, it was hilarious.
Also, what a great happenstance for Marvel to be able to pick Russia as the back place villain of this piece.
Mm-hmm.
In a world before the attack on the Ukraine, Marvel wrote this story about secret invasion, and it just so happens that Russia has become a worldwide enemy, that it makes perfect sense that there would be groups that despise Russia and that would want physical violence against Russians. Marvel, sometimes this shit just falls in your lap, doesn't it?
It does. It really does, man. Like I honestly, until you said that there, I'm like, Jesus Christ! That just clicked for me when you said that there.
Yeah. But we also get oh crap! I didn't get that picture. Crap. We get a picture of Rhodey walking with President Ritson.
Rhodey, eh?
Yeah, Rhodey. We're definitely gonna talk more about Rhodey as these episodes continue. I think that's going to definitely be something to talk about in the future. But we see that Rhodey is essentially the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Defense. He's in a high-ranking military position directly under the President of the United States. Mm. He's reporting to him that Nick Fury has left Saber without permission, and that they can't get a hold of Mr. Fury, and they can't get a hold of Agent Hill. And that means that according to the government, they are considered AWOL.
I love the reveal of who the president is played by.
Dermot Mulroney. Gotta love Dermot Mulroney. That is fantastic. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and talk about this? It was a short scene, but go ahead and talk about this.
Well, I just love to see Rhodey. Rhodey has really risen from what he was. In that, think about this. Endgame? He was kind of on the outs from the government, really, because he was like being used by them, but he wasn't really in a power position. And now he's like an advisor to the president. That's a real big rise for this guy. And we'll get to it at the end, but I have my feelings on where this might go.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm just trying something. Screw it. I'm going to leave it alone. I was trying to get us a new picture for President Ritson, but it is Dermot Mulroney, who's going to be fantastic in this role. I wish he was going to survive the season, but unfortunately we already know that's not going to happen. Because we already know that Secretary Ross, played now by the one and only... Oh, here we go. Dermot Mulroney.
Yeah, yes. Really bad picture of him. That's from his Wikipedia page, but I got it pulled up.
But we all know that Senator Ross is going to be the president in Captain America 4. So it's only a matter of time right now until we get to that point. where we have what is his name? He's the guy who plays Indiana Jones. Why can I not think of his name off the top of my head?
Harrison Ford.
There we go. That's the one. Harrison Ford will be playing the president in. He's taking over for William Hurt, who was.
He's playing. Yeah, he's playing Thunderbolt Ross. Yeah,
Thunderbolt Ross, who's going to become president, in the terms of the next movie for Captain America, as we start building that. We go ahead and we start to see Nick Fury going ahead and playing. He goes into he goes for a walk. He's sick of talking about all this stuff, and people are questioning about what's going on. And he decides to go for a walk in Russia, and it says, "Oh, a black man walking around Russia at night. That won't attract attention." He walks past multiple Skrulls that he doesn't realize. There's the lady with the people who are making out. The lady is one of the people that we'll see later on in the episode. We see the little girl with the ball in the middle of the night with that big, huge, bright neon ball that, again, we'll see later on. And then he gets kidnapped. And he gets kidnapped by the people who work for Olivia Colman, otherwise known as... She is the leader of MI6 in this movie, in this show.
Sonya Falsworth.
There we go. Sonya Falsworth. That's what I was looking for.
I got the Wikipedia up.
I had some of the names, and then I lost track of it when So I took a bunch of screenshots from the actual episode with my computer, and then Disney Plus decided that they were all going to be completely blank. And I'm like, well, thanks, Disney Plus. That really helped. This was a fun scene. This was a fun scene. The two of them just going back and forth. Two old friends. I want to say flirting. Like
sort of, yes.
Like spycraft flirting. Like they weren't flirting like romantically, but they were like spy flirting. Where they're like, I have information that I need that I know that you have. And I have information that you need. And if we do this little dance and we do a little bit of flirting back and forth, you'll get what you want, I'll get what I want, and neither of us will feel like we got had.
Do a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight, you know?
Yeah. Buzz, your girlfriend Wolf. Yeah, no, you can't screenshot Disney Plus. It's really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make things for this show much more difficult than I thought it was.
I know a way. We'll be okay.
Go ahead and talk to me about your thoughts on this woman as an actress and where you think her role is going to go. Do you think she's going to have a small role throughout the rest of the episodes, or is she going to be a big-time player in the next 5 episodes?
I think she's going to... I'm not going to say, like, main character player, but I think she's going to be a bigger player for the show. Like secondary character, not, like, at the level of, obviously, Talos and Fury, but she's going to be a real person that he's going to lean on throughout, because I think he's going to be losing support with what I'm thinking from Shield or whatever the president Ritson from Sword and Saber. I think he's going to be losing that as the series goes on, in my personal opinion, because I think I have a feeling of where the show's going to go.
Yeah, I liked the whole idea of what they did here, and I think that she's going to be a great counterpiece. In this, we also get the second people, because we had Talos telling him this, we had Hill telling him this later on, and we're going to continue to see this over and over again. People telling Fury he's not ready for what's coming, and that he's not up to the challenge anymore. And she continues to use the new old Nick Fury. Because in her mind, it's not that he's newly old. It's that the old Nick Fury was, as Maria Hill will say, 3 steps ahead. He was always ahead of everybody else. But this Nick Fury, he's not as sharp as the old Nick Fury. He's a little more human. He's a little bit more deliberate. And he's a little bit of a step behind going into this. She goes, you would never have gotten captured by my men in the past. He's like, well, I got captured because I needed to see you, and I knew that they would take me to you. And she's like, sure, of course you did. Interesting. She's mad about London. So I ask, is that No Way Home? I mean, not No Way Home. Far From Home.
I
Is she
think
mad
so.
about? Okay, so because she's like, you destroyed my flat, my nice flat, and he's like, city, and I'm like, well, what the hell did they destroy in London? I'm like, the Avengers were never in London, and then I'm like, well,
Spider-Man was.
and then I'm like, Spider-Man, and I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking it has to be that Tower Bridge and everything else that went on with the ending scene from Far From Home. Okay. We get the scene with New Skrullos, where we have this new Skrull coming to join the society. This rebel colony, essentially, where they have a gated off military personnel, and you have older Skrulls in their human form to continue the connection to the shell that they have. Yeah, Astrid, feeling my pain, always saying No Way Home instead of Far From Home. It's the one problem with all of their movies being homes, that it's great, but it's also terrible.
Home 2.
Should be Home 1, Home 2, Home 3.
Spider-Man Home 2.
But no, it's great to see like the young Skrulls being in Skrull form. And some of the older Skrulls are in Skrull form, but a lot of the older people are, in their human form. And you find out that once you come here, unless you're a warrior, you don't leave. This is a new home for you. We grow Skrull products here. Like we grow Skrull produce. We live our Skrull lives. We live in our in our skins. It's our own little place to just be ourselves. And I'm like, that's nice. It's nice that there's a place where these people can be themselves, where they don't have to hide. Mystique would feel at home here.
Yeah. Good.
But in all of this, we meet Gaia. Gaia is played by Emilia Clarke, the mother of dragons, Khaleesi herself. She is all of those things. I don't care what you think of her. She is all of those things.
I get it, but for me, out of everybody in this cast, I went, her? Okay. I'm not a Thrones fan.
Upon hearing that she was in this show, I was immediately hooked with the fact that she was going to be here. I think she is an amazing actress. I am not a huge Game of Thrones fan either. Not as much as apparently Astrid is. Talking about I love seeing my Game of Thrones actors. By the way, for those who love their Game of Thrones actors, for the first 5 minutes of this show, you do get one of your other Game of Thrones actors, as Prescott was also in Game of Thrones. And for those who want to see more Game of Thrones in there, when we get to it, when we get to Blade, we have the Dark Knight, Black Knight, played by Kit Harington, to which everybody's waiting to see Gaia mixed with the Black Knight, because it'll be funny to see if they reference anything. Do I know you?
Seen you before.
Yeah. Astrid, cool off. Cool off.
He's not Kit anymore. He's Dane Whitman.
Dane Whitman. But we have Gaia here, and I like the role she plays. She's she's high enough in the organization that she's bringing people in and onboarding them, and she's part of the plans, but she's not so looked after that everybody's keeping a close eye on her. Like, she's not so far in the inner circle that she's sitting with Gravik all the time. We see Gravik here for the first time, and this dude looks like a badass. This is not from this scene, but it's one of the best photos I could find of him. I love the look of his character throughout this episode. This guy is the epitome of cool. He's calm, he's cool, he's collected.
And don't take this as me being insulting. He gives me the smug douchebag vibe, but he doesn't do it in like a bad way, but just like, I know what I'm doing. Go fuck yourself. That's the kind of feeling I get from him. It's not that, like, I don't mean smug douchebag in a bad way. I guess it's just the feel of it. It's like, I'm smug. I don't care what you think. Go fuck yourself.
Sorry, I had to turn the air conditioner on. It's getting warm in this room. No, I wholeheartedly agree. He's definitely arrogant douchebag in the best way possible. Like, he's not arrogant douchebag in attitude, but he gives off that vibe. Like, he knows how cool he is. He knows how important he is. And he knows that he's going to do what he wants to do, and people are going to listen and follow him. Because that's just what happens with me. We see his number 2, who I can't wait to get rid of because this guy just annoys the ever-living piss out of me.
Oh, Killian Scott.
I think that's who it is.
It's Pagan is his name,
Yeah.
but it's played by Killian Scott. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. He was just again in a couple of these scenes. I was just like, okay, they're there. I wasn't as like, you know what I mean. I wasn't like. This is kind of where the show. It was the scene with Fury, and then a lot of this expedition and slowness that really kind of made me go. Okay.
The problem with this is, and this is where this show is going to get itself caught into a small corner. We've only ever talked about this stuff once.
Mm-hmm.
In one movie, in Captain Marvel, in a time where we were moving 1,000 miles an hour towards Endgame, we talked about the Skrulls. And then we have never talked about them before. Again, since. Mm-hmm. So it's like they existed in 1990 in the Captain Marvel movie. They existed briefly as a joke in Far From Home, and then they're gone again. Mm-hmm. And we don't talk about them. We don't mention them. In no point do they. So they have a lot of groundwork to cover, but they also don't want to cover so much groundwork in so many episodes because you only got 6. So you got to make those 6 one-hour episodes count. So unfortunately, episode 1, we get a lot of that backstory. And I'm okay with it. Because they do it in a way where it's a lot of visual as well as a lot of audio. Like, you see the new Skrull taking on his new body. And you see him connecting with his what do they call it? The shells, is what Gaia called it. And he goes ahead and he puts his hand on the guy's head in the death touch. Where he goes ahead, it's not a death touch, but he goes ahead and he takes the memories. And that's going to be very, very interesting. Astrid telling me, she had told me beforehand that she hadn't finished it, so she's just finished the episode. So that's very good. So we have, this moment where we get an explanation as to how the Skrulls get the memories of the people that they take on. And we get a further changing from the beginning. Remember where the Skrulls kept making mistakes because they couldn't remember things? Mm-hmm. So now that they have these they have these shells, so they can go ahead and get more memories more readily accessible, so they don't fall into the same problems that they fell in the Captain Marvel movie. Mm-hmm. Then Nick Fury and Talos go all Pulp Fiction. Tell me this isn't a scene from Pulp Fiction.
Oh, it is 100% a rip from that, man. 100%.
You've got Nick Fury sitting there with a gun, being all cool and just talking his talk. And the guy lies to him and he's like, all right, does he have an ex-wife? Does he have a wife? He's like, well, he has an ex-wife. He's like, she's taking him for everything. He's like, well, I don't think you were seeing her, so we're going to call that a lie. Everybody gets 1. Nobody gets 2. And I'm just like, I could just see Jules sitting there with a big ass fro and a black suit with a nice tie, as opposed to what we got in this scene where it's an old Nick Fury just beaten down and a little bit tired and everything else. And the guy lies again. And Nick's like, I'm going to shoot you. I'm just going to shoot you. And then Talos grabs him and bangs him against the bookcase. And they start a fight. And he's like, you're Talos. And they start fighting. And this is where I noticed, is it every alien race has to be stronger than humans? Like, are we the weakest people in the world?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Because it's like this fight between these two. It's almost like super soldier serum all over again, as these two just start breaking everything and having this massive fight. As Astrid agrees with Andre, yes, we are. It makes me feel sad as a human, but I love this because Talos continues to tell Nick Fury not to get involved. He continues to tell Nick Fury not to interfere. And then Nick Fury shoots the guy anyways, because he thinks he's going to beat Talos. And you see this pain on Talos. I've heard of a couple different ideas. What do you think the pain from Talos was in that moment when he sees the other Skrull dead?
It's one of his people. Whether you're against them or anything, it's still his people, his culture, his heritage is lying dead on the floor. That is the biggest thing I think that is that it's not that he's sad that he's just sad that seeing another Skrull had to die, and that's not what he's. I don't think that's what he's about.
Yeah. I like this. I like the pain and the and everything that Talos is going through here, because I think you're right. It's not only about the fact that he's not strong enough to do what he needs to do, but it's the fact that on top of it, Nick Fury shot one of his people. And he feels for them because he feels like he's in charge of them. And he feels like he's let them down for 30 years now being on this planet. But he's always made excuses for Fury.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to see how long he's going to continue to make excuses for Fury. And whether or not this means that we finally get a new planet for the Skrulls coming out of this.
The Planet of the Skrulls coming 2025.
After this, we get the scene with Maria Hill down and chasing Gaia, which leads to the heart-to-heart between Gaia and Talos, which was a nice heartfelt scene. I enjoy this, where he's trying to convince his estranged daughter to come back to them, and she's like, "No, I'm not coming back to you." And he's like, "Well, that's not what your mother would want to hear." And she's like, "Well, Mom doesn't know what she wants." And he's like, "No, I said wanted, as in like she's gone, honey." And this is the moment where you realize that she had no idea.
Mm-hmm. And you can see the heartbreak on her face.
Yeah.
Like, you can literally see it, and you're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
You're like,
ooh. And we find out that Gravik apparently supposedly kills her. That Gravik, well, not so much that he killed her, but that he's responsible for her death.
Is he, though?
Oof, who the fuck knows? It's the paranoia of this show. We don't know anything. We don't know if anybody's telling the truth. I don't even know if Talos is Talos. Talos could be a Skrull acting like Talos.
Mm-hmm. Very possible.
What we do know is that after she does get away because Dad lets her go, she gets away with the bombs, and she takes a minute to have that emotional breakdown where she sits in the corner of the alley and she just cries.
This is where Emilia Clarke got me. When she had her breakdown, this is where she caught me. Because again, up to this point in the show, I'm just like, oh, it's Emilia Clarke. Okay, whatever. And then when she started to cry, and like she had that little, like you could see her, like the emotion hit her face. I'm like, oh, and I felt this is where I first like connected with the character, and I was like, oh, Emilia Clarke is okay. She's doing good now.
For those who don't remember, Gaia is the girl, the little Skrull girl in the Captain Marvel movie.
His grown-up daughter.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to. I think it's funny to mention because we talk about Monica Rambeau being the little girl in Captain Marvel, all grown up. So we're starting to see a lot of these people come back to us. We get the scene in the bar where Nick Fury is talking to Maria Hill, and they're playing chess. And this is where we get Nick Fury talking about how he had a crisis of faith, and we go back to the snap, and how he can barely get the page off, and how he can't even say "mother effer" before getting cut off. Just absolutely fantastic stuff here. I have a question though. If Nick Fury thinks he's playing chess, what game is Gravik playing? Because Gravik is so many steps ahead of Nick Fury right now.
It's 3D chess.
Okay, he's playing 3D chess?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if he was playing 4D chess that Sheldon created.
Could be 4D, because that just makes no goddamn sense at all.
But I just think this is an interesting scene. And again, this is another scene where people have been like, oh, this isn't Maria Hill, because Maria Hill wouldn't be asking these questions. She'd kind of know the answer. This might be Soren. And I'm like, no. I feel like you really rip apart the idea of the show. If you take the death of Soren away, I feel like you ruin so much of the backstory that we've got to this point.
Well, if she is revealed to be alive, as long as Talos has no idea, I'm down with that. My partner in crime, Miss Melball. You're muted, buddy. You're muted.
Sorry about that. What part did
That whole speech.
What did we hear last?
I don't remember. All I was like, I got no audio in my head. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
We've got Andre and Melball doing all kinds of G1. We've got Andre and Melball doing all kinds of Forbidden Door coverage this weekend. So make sure you check them out
with Bobby and Lauren.
Yes, on the Our Local Establishment channel.
This Sunday,
Worlds Collide.
This Sunday, following Busting Out, we will be talking and breaking down our preview for Forbidden Door,
which got a little bit of greatness coming the last couple days with some matches that were made tonight, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Murder Grandpa comes. But we see Gaia giving information on the bombing. But my question is, whose side is she on at this point? Because she's giving information, but is she telling the truth? Is she lying? Mm-hmm. Is she giving information that she thinks is the truth and that's actually a lie? We got Mel Paul being very excited to work with Bobby and Lauren again. Yeah, it's going to be great. Forbidden Door looks like a great card. Astrid saying that she thought something happened to her audio.
Yeah.
Dun dun.
Me too. Me too. But yeah, it's because again, you don't know. Is she lying to them? Is she giving them truth? Is she playing them? You don't know. Again, it's all about you don't know the what's real, what's fake, who's what, and yeah.
Yeah. And then of course we get the bombing. And I love the way that they split this up, where they have the infrared glasses on and they two of them start chasing the bombers, and so then all of a sudden you get the handoff, and then Fury sees the little girl and he starts chasing after the little girl, and the little girl turns into the lady who was making out on the walk while he was on his walk, who then turns into the bartender at the bar, who then he passes by and turns into Gravik himself, and Gravik stands there with the trigger and pops the bomb, and boom goes the dynamite, shall we say. And we see the Unity Day, the Unity Day celebration ruined as the bombing starts going off. We get 3 bombs going off altogether. Hundreds of people probably injured in this. We don't get a number in the show, but you can imagine lots of people were injured in something like this. And then we see Nick Fury shoot Maria Hill, or who we think is Nick Fury shooting Maria Hill. In actuality, yeah. It turns into Gravik who shot Maria Hill, but Maria doesn't see it. And in this moment, she starts lying down on the ground, and she's taking her last few breaths, and she utters her last words: "It was you." And we get the overhead shot panning out, and the episode ends. Is she dead? Do you bring on Colby Smothers to literally have one episode and then die?
Yes. And I love. Don't get me wrong, I love Colby Smothers. How I Met Your Mother is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I think she's absolutely perfect as Maria Hill. I think the way she has portrayed her through everything she's been in. But if you bring her back, you take away like you were saying about Soren, you take away every emotional resonance that Nick Fury now has to take down Gravik.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they should keep her dead. Like Coulson. I don't think Coulson should. I think you can have Coulson pop up in in something special like Secret Wars or something like that, where you have the multiverse come into play. But
yeah, if she's back for a Secret Wars, I'm fine with it, because it can be another version of Maria Hill. But this one has to be dead. And again, I don't like it because like I said, I loved her, but
yeah. And that's the way it ends. Marvel with these ice cold bath endings. Like I'd forgotten how good Marvel is at you want more? Great, everything's done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we sat through 50 minutes of them explaining what the purpose of this show is. And we get these last 5 minutes that we get the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes. And everything in between is, like you said, it's a bit boring, but the exposition is necessary. Because I would have hated for them to have done the show and told the story along the way. I like that. I don't mind that they sat us down and were like, look, we need to explain some things. We've not talked about any of this, so we really need to do some explaining. It's not like Loki, where we can just tell the story as we go. It's not like, I want to say House of M. It's not like Scarlet Witch, WandaVision, where we got to tell the story of over 10 episodes and do our thing. It's not like She-Hulk, where they could do the quick thing to tell what She-Hulk was about and then go back and do the rest of the episode. Like, you couldn't do that with this. You had no choice but to explain this slow, methodically, and from the beginning. And so, yes, we had to sit through one bad episode. But
it's not a bad episode, though. Like, again, it was a lot of filler in the middle.
Boring
don't get me wrong. But it brought me back. If it wasn't for those last few minutes, I would have. If it would just kept going like that, I would have been like, dude, I don't know if I want to do another episode of this. But the way it resonated up, yes, it's going to. I think it needed this episode, and now everything else is just going to go, boom. For the rest of the season.
Bad episode was. It was a filler episode. It was a boring episode. It was an episode full of exposition.
Yeah, an exposition episode.
And sometimes you need that. And you know what? If this were a movie, this would have been 10 minutes of a 2-hour movie. Mm-hmm. I think we got to remember that. Like, when people are like, oh, man, episode 1. And it'd be like, yeah. Like, if this were a movie, that would have been 20 minutes of the movie where they would have broken it down a little bit shorter. And we would have gotten less understanding about what we're watching.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that we now know where our players are. We know, so the players that we have on the field right now. Nick Fury. Nick Fury's leading the good team. We got his boy Talos as his sidekick. That's the good side. We don't know anybody else on the good team right now except those two. In the middle, we have Dermot Mulroney as the President of the United States, President Ritson. We have James Rhodey Rhodes in the middle, because it seems like he's
Rhodey.
Until we know for certain, we can't call him a Skrull.
That's why I'm saying Rhodey.
But we have Rhodey. And in the middle, I also think we have Gaia right now. I think Gaia is right now currently in the middle.
Yeah,
I don't think
so.
she's picked a side right now. I think that she's in the middle as we speak. And then on the bad team, on Team Skrull, we've got Gravik. We've got all his people. Mm-hmm. And I think we have Val. I think we're going to have Val.
You think Val's going to show up in this?
I don't know if she's going to show up in this, but I definitely think that she would lean more towards the chaos that he's creating. And I think that you could link her with him to continue to link Thunderbolts. Because we've got to start getting movement towards Thunderbolts at some point soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
As Astrid says, the paranoia. You're a Skrull. I'm a Skrull. He's a Skrull. Everybody's a Skrull. Oprah's just giving away Skrulls left, right, and center.
Because I'm Andre the Skrull. See?
Yeah. And speaking of Mr. Andre the Skrull, tell us where we can find you on the internet.
Twitter, Hive, Mastodon at That Canada Guy, Instagram at That Canada Dude. You can find all the great wrestling content I am putting out over at Andre and Melba Wrestling Talk on YouTube and Facebook. You can find us both there, and also all of our stuff is re-simulcasted onto Backbreaker Video, run by our good buddy Mike the Ref.
Yeah, Mike. You've already admitted it. You are a Skrull.
Mm-hmm.
For me, you can go ahead and find me on Twitter at EdFries12584. You can find me on Twitch at EdFries2002. I have started streaming WWE 2K23 on there. I've been streaming a bunch of Marvel Snap on there. I've been doing a whole lot of fun stuff on there. I'm going to continue to do a whole lot of fun stuff on there. I've just recently got affiliate, so if you want, come on over and support. Just watch. If you want to support me financially, you can go ahead and throw me your Bezos box. So you can go ahead and use your Amazon Prime subscription. If you don't already know, you get a free subscription to Twitch via that. So go ahead and come on over to me and give me that free Bezos box. Costs you nothing, and you get it as part of your Amazon Prime. It's fantastic. So go ahead and use that. Andre, what do you guys got coming up on Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk? What do you guys got coming up for Forbidden Door? Do you have any other coverage in your preview show?
We have the preview show. I don't know what they're doing for a post show because I'm going to the bar to watch it with some friends, with Mike and others. So I'll be watching it live with some friends. If I can jump onto a post show when I get home, if it's still going, I will happily jump in. I think they have something going that night. I can't, but again, I don't know for sure what it is. But yeah, I just had a Stardom review show drop on my YouTube page. Andre Miller Wrestling Talk. We've got the Blue Justice event coming up this Friday. You want to check? We're talking about the Blue Justice show from June 18th for New Japan Professional Wrestling. We're talking about that. We got more Stardom coming up in the weeks to come. A lot of big stuff coming out from Stardom coming soon. Same thing with New Japan. The Independence Day shows coming out in a couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about those. We got lots of coverage coming this summer. The G1 is back, baby. We're going to be doing shows after shows after shows after shows.
And not only is the G1 coming back, it's back and it's better than ever. Four blocks of the G1.
It's the second year in a row, baby. We're getting 32 participants. It's going to be a big year, and there's a lot of new faces to this one.
Yes, I'm very excited. There's a lot of faces in there that I recognize, so I'm going to be very excited to see what happens during the G1. For me, you can go ahead and catch me right after this ends. Stick around. Don't go too far. We're going to reset the stream, and we're going to go ahead and do some Wrestle Draft. Me and Parrish are going to whoop Parrish's ass one more time in Wrestle Draft as I go ahead and clean his clock at Hell in the Cell as I continue to have my lead. I know he's been creeping up. I've been playing it easy on him, letting him kind of gain some confidence and get himself back in. But I'm gonna put my foot down here at Hell in the Cell as we move towards WrestleMania in 2 weeks. I don't usually lose the PLEs. It'll be fine, Parrish. Don't you worry. You can also catch me every Tuesday night with my tag team partner, Astrid Pizarro, as we talk all things NXT. We just talked last night about Gold Rush Week 1, which included the main event of Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker. Next week, we've got Carmelo Hayes versus Baron Corbin. They had one of the best promos in a long time in WWE this week on the show, and next week we get the match. We also have Tiffany versus Tia Hale. Hopefully Tiffany will just dispatch of her in a minute or two, so we don't have to worry about Tia Hale no more. And then of course we got a wonderful tag team title match between the Gallus Boys versus Blade and Inoue. All kinds of fun stuff happening on there. But for me, Ol'Ed, and this man Andre, the Skrull C.
No, I'm Team Ed now. I'm Team Ed now.
Team Ed. Oh, he's switching sides.
No,
We're gonna let you go. We're gonna let you go. We will see you next week. Same bat time. Well, no, not necessarily same bat time, but same bat day.
We'll be back again. My schedule at work really sucks because next Wednesday night I'm working the Wednesday night and the Thursday night. So he might have a different tag team partner next week. Just my schedule sucks.
We'll find a way to make this happen, and it'll be up and running. Worst case scenario, it'll be a YouTube exclusive on the YouTube channel, premiering sometime, whether it be Wednesday or Thursday. We will find a way to make it work, even if I have to go ahead and record in the darkest nights. We will make it happen this time.
This is the way.
This is the way. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Talk to you later. Bye.